Hello, I'm Demi Utley, the founder here at Utley Strategies, and today I'm going to talk to you about how you can set your proposal team up for success. So whether you have a team of proposal writers or your sales team is setting out proposals or something in between, there are a lot of factors that can actually impact the success of your proposal team. So today I'm going to share with you 8 ways that you can improve the success of your proposal team. Let's dive in. Up first, we have establishing an approved content library. So if you've read any of our blog posts or watched any of our videos, then you know that I am a huge advocate for having a content library. Competitive and engaging boilerplate content makes it easier for your team to actually pull together a proposal and then customize it for the buyer, which is what we want when you're creating your proposals. Starting from scratch each time is time consuming, and if you're pulling from the most recent proposals that you're created instead of a content library, then you're more likely to have issues if the projects vary when you're actually bidding on the proposals and you're not aware of it, or you miss something, sometimes even the customer name, when you're pasting it in from a past proposal. And that is not something that you want to do. Also, if you don't have an approved content library, then you run the risk of someone proposing something that doesn't align with what your company can implement or how you want to be positioning your company. So that's not ideal. So that makes it important for you to have a sort of centralized content library that everyone can pull from to create proposals that align with your company and speak to your customers. Another way that you can ensure the success of your proposal team is to have a clear and repeatable process in place for a lot of different aspects of your proposals. One of the biggest time sucks of proposals is actually just not having a process and having to go through and figure out what to do and when. So this leads to a lot of confusion and lost time when you're scrambling to pull together your proposal, especially on an RFP deadline, and that is not something that we want. So a few types of process that you might have in place are, for example, just having a template and a content library that everyone knows to use. Maybe you have clear approval procedures, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. You might also have some sort of go, no go process, a signature process, especially for RFPs in the public sector where you have to have physical signatures, production if you have to print out proposals and things like that. So the more that you can have these processes defined, the less confusion you're going to have, and it's going to be easier for your team to actually create proposals. Another way to ensure the success of your proposal team is to make sure that you're actually documenting the competitive positioning of your company. So it's hard to win a project if your proposal team doesn't understand how you're competing and how you're actually going to win. So one way you can make this easier on both your proposal team and your sales team is to have a few resources that highlight your competitive positioning, especially compared to some of your top competitors. You might also want to list any features or benefits that are unique for your solution or reasons why customers frequently buy from you. And that's going to allow your proposal team and whoever's actually writing your proposal to have more of a foundation of strategy when they're actually working on these proposals. And then from there, you can go and tweak it and refine it for this specific opportunity. So it's going to just make it a little bit easier to create competitive proposals from the beginning. Another thing that you should be doing to ensure the success of your proposal team is to make sure that you're inviting your sales team to actually share any customer insights that they have throughout the whole process. So this applies whether, you have a proposal team working on a proposal or even your sales team. Just make sure that everyone who has actually spoken to the client has spoken with each other and they shared all of the insights that they learned through those conversations. It's ideal for sales to create, say, like 3 to 5 main pain points that the customer is facing that then whoever's writing the proposal can use to show, okay, we understand the challenges that you're facing, and this is why our solution is the best option for you. Another really important way to make sure your proposal team is a success is to have only one project manager per proposal. So this is the one person who's going to be responsible for ensuring that you're including everything that's required, especially in those RFP situations. And I will say that, in small businesses, maybe you don't have 15 people working on a proposal and you only have 1 or 2. In those cases, you still need to have a project manager who is responsible for this, because otherwise it's easy for you all to be working on the proposal and you might assume, oh, so-and-so is going to be working on this. I know that that's something they'll pull together. And then you don't have it. And then you find out, 2 days before the deadline, or even as you're submitting the proposal, that you don't have a piece that you need. And in some cases, you might not have time to pull it together and you might not be able to send in the proposal. So always have just one person who is responsible for ensuring that everything is included within the proposal. That way you don't run into those mistakes at the end of the deadline. Another thing that you can do to ensure the success of your proposal team is to make sure that you are only creating proposals for the best opportunities. So it might be tempting to send out a proposal for every single opportunity that is given to your business, but that's not always the best strategy. A lot of times this can lead to low win rates and then also high burnout for whoever's creating all of these proposals and not getting the results because they're just spread so thin. So instead of doing that, make sure that you have some sort of framework in place that can help you to prioritize proposals and opportunities. So that way you can spend more time personalizing those proposals that are actually a good fit for your company and better position you to win those projects. Another thing that I highly recommend is making sure that you are operating on an earlier deadline internally. So the RFP especially might have, a due date of a certain date. You want to make sure that you have your internal deadline a few days, if not a week before that. So that way there's time for you to go through and put on the finishing touches on your proposal. And even the most organized teams will work right up to the deadline. So you want to make sure that that deadline is early enough to give you time to polish off your proposal, to do a proofread, maybe to get approval. If you're printing it and shipping it, of course, making sure you have time to do all of that. And this also applies if you have a really small team or if you're a team of one. If you are working on the proposal by yourself, make sure that you give yourself a little bit earlier of a deadline just in case something comes up and you need an extra day at the end to pull everything together. The final thing that I will share with you today is to make sure that you limit final approvers for your proposals. So when you're bidding on a project, I've seen this happen a lot of times where, say there are a lot of teams involved in a proposal, or maybe even several companies all are coming together to bid on an opportunity. And it's tempting to give everyone a chance to give their final sign off and their final approval. But if this happens near the deadline, then you're going to be getting a lot of feedback at the very end. And it might be difficult, if not impossible, to incorporate all of that. Some of it might even be conflicting. And it's only going to marginally improve your proposal most of the time. If it improves at all. Sometimes it actually will hurt your proposal to have that much feedback at the end. So what you want to do is make sure that you're getting feedback from those people earlier in the process. And then you only have like one or two people who are the final approvers who are going through and saying, okay, we have everything included within this proposal that we agreed to with all of these different teams. And then they give the final approval, or maybe they suggest a few changes. But you do not want to have 10 different opinions on a final proposal when it's due tomorrow. So make sure that you limit the amount of final approvers on your proposals. Okay, so that's all that I have for you today for ways that you can make sure that your proposal team is a success. If you're ready to put this into practice, but you aren't sure exactly how to get started, then make sure you schedule a one-on-one proposal session with me where we can talk through your current proposal process, maybe your competitive strategy, and develop a plan for you to actually improve going forward and make your team more successful. I'll link to that below this video so you can go ahead and schedule that time with me. And in the meantime, make sure you subscribe for future videos and I will see you next time.